G'day everybody and welcome to another episode of Automotive Carnage. In today's episode we're going to slow down, chill, relax a bit and regroup and seriously have a look at all the vehicles and projects that we have in the stables at the moment. Now when I first started Automotive Carnage it was only ever meant to be one daily driver and one project car. And as you can see from our list, that has spiraled out of control quite considerably. So today we're going to have a look, see what we have, what plans we have for it, whether it's staying or whether it's going. And generally just have a bit of a recount because there's so many cars. Like I keep forgetting how many cars I actually own. There's a lot. So run the intro, let's go have a look. Yes, g'day, my name's DJ and thank you again for joining us on this episode of Automotive Carnage. As I said, we've got something like 15 or 16 cars that are in my possession at the moment. Not all of them I own, some of them I'm just holding on to for friends, i.e. these Fords that are going off to Peter and Graham. But today, yeah, we'll go handheld and we'll just walk through all of the vehicles. I get asked a lot, what happened to X car, what happened to that car, do you still have this one? Or the cars that we've worked on and passed on, you know, what's happened to them. So today we're going to address kind of all those sort of concerns or questions that you guys might have and go through each vehicle that we have and do a little bit of a rundown as to what we're doing with it, if it's staying, if it's going. Let's start down that end. So the first thing we have is I've filmed this at the wrong time of day. Hello, you can see my shadow and you're going to see my shadow pretty much the whole way through. So I do apologize if that gets in the way. I should have done this in the morning, but regardless, we're here now. So first one we have is this awesome tilt trailer that we purchased a couple of months ago, and it has just been an absolute godsend for recovering vehicles out of the bush, for transporting vehicles off to mechanics and the likes. We have had some very heavy vehicles on this trailer and it's handled it like an absolute champ. And gosh, the amount of times we have dragged cars out of the bush with this thing. It is a tilt tray. Pins come out, tray goes up, winch. Oh mate, it is absolutely awesome. The vehicle that's on it, that's not even mine. I pulled that out of the local rubbish dump and that's going off to a friend tomorrow hopefully, and we're going to trade that for another car that could be more interesting. So yeah, I'm still collecting more cars. Okay, so let's move on to actual vehicles now. First one we have is a 1989 Toyota Corolla 2 GP Turbo. One of only 6,000 ever made for the Japanese market, and we found this one in the backyard of an outback town. I wasn't the one who found this car. In fact, the friend that Hilux is going off to is the one who found it. He knows I like Jap imports and messaged me and said, hey, do you want this? If you don't take it, I'm pretty much just going to go and crush it because they are a very unusual, obscure car and no one really knows much about them or wants them, unfortunately. Let's start with interesting parts. It is called a GP Turbo for a reason. Hood scoop gives it away. This is a 1.5 litre turbo engine. Came out in 1986, I believe, and pop-up headlights. It's a cool engine. It needs to be put back together. I don't know why it was pulled apart. Yeah, interesting enough, the original engine for this car is currently in the boot, and the engine that's in there now came from Brisbane, and I've managed to get hold of the guy who sold it to the person who put it in the car. There's the original block there. Why it's been pulled out, I don't know. But yeah, I managed to get hold of the guy who actually sold that engine, and he's like, if you're not going to use it, can I please have it back? Because as I said, it was only 6,000 made and this engine only came out in this model. Really, really cool car. So it's a 5-speed manual as well. And what's going to happen with it? For now, it's just going to sit here. It normally sits under a cover, but the wind's been so fierce recently, it keeps blowing it off. And we will restore it eventually. It deserves to be restored. We will restore it. Most of the parts I need are in it. We will obviously need a new windscreen, a few miscellaneous parts, but it's going to be a fun little nugget to work on. All right, and the next vehicle we have in the line is a 1969, I think it is, VF Valiant Pacer, genuine Pacer. This one is number 950 and it still has its original engine. Now, this was found sitting in a creek bed not too far outside of town, and it is fairly complete. We still have some awesome decals down the side. We have one of the original Tombstone seats. We have Pacer badging over on the glove box, white face dash cluster. Really, really cool car. It needs a mountain of work, obviously. There's a lot missing. but it's such a cool car, being a pacer, that it's worth restoring. First things first though, we need to find a floor, because this one, as I said, was sitting in the creek bed and it is absolutely cactus. It's original 225 170 horsepower engine that will stay there. We need to find a new radiator support panel and front bar and everything, but this is the third pacer that I have found out here, and this is the first one that is actually restorable. The other two are pretty trashed, but they will be able to donate floor, radiator panels, bumpers, all that kind of stuff. So really looking forward to getting stuck into that one. Again, long term, like the Corolla, there's no rush to build them just yet. Next we have these two engines under tarps. Now something you may have noticed is we always find car bodies in the bush, but it's very rare that we find an engine that we can actually use. So I've gone to start collecting engines that I'm interested in, engines that might fit in certain vehicles, and also collecting their applicable gearboxes or transmissions to go with them. Now, I'm not going to share exactly what these are. They are both massive engines. As for which one's the biggest one, I can't tell you, because that one's got more cubic inch, but that one's got more cylinders. So that's the only clue I'll give you. Those will be used in a project sometime in the future once we find the right vehicle for the engine. Okay, next we have our 1966 Dodge 106C. This is number, there's only 1,500 of these made. This is number 672. Now, most of you will know this one as it's the last vehicle we were working on. All brand new pedal suspension, all brand new pedal steering componentry. Why we stopped restoring it is because of that floor. We need to find a decent floor that we can just cut out and stitch in. This car is absolutely awesome. We have a lot of spare panels and a lot of spare parts needed to finish it off. Also because we've got that VC ute that we stripped down. Now, something I haven't really shown you guys is all the bullet holes down the side of this. This was a station vehicle, and once it was parked up, it just got used for bullet practice, you know, shooting practice. Just so many bullet holes, and we're going to keep as many of those as we can, unless Mr. Inspector says we have to take them out. This one up here is my favorite. It's just absolutely ripped the door corner apart. But anyway, floor is cactus, which means it will sit here until we find the floor. Good thing is the wagons, sedans and utes all use the same floor, so it shouldn't be too hard. It's just a matter of going out there and getting one. Okay, so next we have our pair of fours. These are ones we've been collaborating with Peter Anderson and Graham from XA Coupe Guy, and they are just about ready now to be loaded onto the transporters and sent off so that they can do their magic. Now, Peter is getting the XA Fairmont, Graham is getting the ZF Fairlane. Both of these are very unique and rare options and combinations, hence why they are worth saving. They still have the original tags showing those options. So we've recently done a series on these, so go back a couple of videos and you'll be able to see all the work that we've done to them. Yeah, give it a couple of weeks and they will be on a transporter making their way to Graham's workshop to get the roof replaced and to get a driveline pull in this, so I can do some big ass burnouts in its current state, which is going to be mad. Now moving away from bush wrecks and into another, well, let's face it, it was a bush wreck. Now why do we have a completely clapped out and broken Prado? Well, that's because we needed a parts car for my daily driven Prado. Now I lent my Prado out to my old man because I was away for the day. He wanted to go bush. I get home and find that it's parked reverse into my driveway. I'm like, that's unusual. And I go around and have a look and find out that he's completely smashed the rear door. He's reversed into a pole. So I'm like, hang on mate, I meant to do that? I'm the son who meant to damage my dad's car, not the other way around. But anyway, it didn't do too much damage, and we managed to find this for $100, dragged it home. We've taken all the handles and parts off it, so I'm actually able to use the back door of my car already. But bonus features, it also had the aircon pipe I needed to fix the aircon in that car. Plus it's got a great front bull bar there that is still in great condition, and even better, down the back here, it's got airbag suspension in the rear spring. So before we take this off to the rubbish dump, we're going to take those airbags out, test them, make sure they work. If they work, they're going in the Prado, and most definitely that front bull bar will be making its way onto the daily driven Prado. And then that car is gone. Speaking of Prados, my daily driver, I love this thing. I originally picked this up for $3,000 because the transmission or the clutch was going. Turns out someone who just put the wrong kind of spark plugs in and was causing a miss. Changed all the spark plugs and it drove great. unfortunately the clutch was on its way out. So that's had to be replaced recently. It's been off the road for quite a while whilst waiting for that to happen. I just didn't have the right tools nor the time over the Christmas period to actually get it done. So sent off to a mechanic, done some really good work. So it's got brand new clutch kit all through there. It's got the timing belt done, it's got the aircon regassed, it's got all the oil leaks fixed up. So with chunky tires and all brand new pedal suspension that was put in thanks to Byron from Down the Shed with Byron. This vehicle is almost how I want it for bush wreck hunting. It is such a fun car to drive. But now that the suspension and brand new suspension, brand new brakes, all that gear has been replaced, but it needs more power. So that's next. It tows the car trailer great, but it does need just that little bit more power. Alrighty. Anyone who wants to ask, the Bobcat and the tipper truck, they're not actually mine, nor is the bus. So moving on to a vehicle that is mine. My dream car, 1992 Nissan Silvia S13. My gosh, does this car had a story. So you could consider this to be a barn find or shed find. It popped up on Facebook Marketplace quite a while ago in bits and pieces and bog all over it. The whole front end was missing. It wasn't running or driving. And the guy wanted like advertised for $2.5 grand. And then the ad disappeared after about an hour or so. So I managed to get a hold of the guy and be like, dude, do you actually have an S13 in the next town over from me, which is 120 k's away? So a random shed in the middle of the desert. Do you actually have an S13? He's like, yeah, but, you know, I want to get rid of it. I don't want to, but I need to move. I need to get away from my crazy missus. I need to get rid of the car and get a road registered car. I'm like, cool, I'm coming for a look. So I went and had a look, and sure enough, it was in pieces and it didn't run, it didn't drive, it was automatic, non-turbo, but it was an S13. So I'm like, look, I've got this mad little Daihatsu that's fully road legal. You take that and I'll take this off your hand. I was very optimistic and said, I'll have this all back together within 2 weeks. The deal was done. 2.5 years later, it's finally running and driving. So we had to paint it and all sorts. It needs one hang of a wash. The poor thing's just sitting here. It's not actually registered yet. It's all ready to go. It's had a 5-speed manual conversion. I tried to keep the automatic for ease of registration, but unfortunately the only torque converter I could find was in where was that? In America. They wanted $1,600 for it. I'm like, stuff that, I can do a 5-speed manual conversion for cheaper. So I ended up doing the 5-speed manual conversion. It's now sitting on brand new Tyne coilover suspension. It is an absolute hoot to drive. I love driving it, but it does need more power. It's only a naturally aspirated SR20. So in the future, once it's registered, we might look at repowering this car. With what engine, I'm not too sure, but I don't want to go RB. I might go S15, SR20, but I would like to do something a bit more unusual with it. So anyway, that is one of my dream cars, S13. It's not going anywhere. I love that thing to bits. Alrighty, coming over here, and we have, this is half mine, half dad's. It's our F250 Ambulance. I cannot remember what year it is. 91, I guess. It's the last of the 351 EFI engines. I think it's an FMX gearbox and an absolutely massive diff. Pretty sure it's bigger than a 9-inch because it is huge back there, and it's a 250, not a 150. So the reason we have an F250 Ambulance is it was donated to us to do variety bash runs, and Dan and I have done one. We absolutely love it. We want to do it again, but unfortunately with COVID and everything that's happened the last 2 years, we haven't had the time to actually get this vehicle ready, prepped, and in the race. But it's running, it drives. You can't go over 90 k's an hour at the moment because it overheats. So we need to fix that, and it does have a miss. It's only running on 7 cylinders. But it's absolutely awesome, and it is still an ambulance. When it was donated to us, the guy's like, yeah, you can have it, but you know, you gotta get started. It doesn't have keys or anything. Within half an hour, we had the thing running and driving, and drove it all the way home. It was good fun. But yeah, it's a full-on ambulance. All the gear is still in here. We have 2 gurneys or stretchers to go in there, so when it comes to doing rally events, it is absolutely perfect. Heaps of ground clearance. Yeah, need to get registered and good to go. It's recently actually appeared, or not appeared, but going to appear in the TV series. They borrowed it for a couple of months to do some filming. They needed a period correct ambulance, and I couldn't believe it when I showed them this one. They're like, yes, that's exactly what we're after. So That's why all the ambulance stickers down the sides are looking really fresh, because I had to redo it for the TV show. So once that TV show comes out, I'll let you guys know, and yeah, you can have a watch and try find the ambulance in the background. Now, in the last episode when we were working on the pair of Fords over there, a couple of you guys spotted this Honda Accord in the background. Yes, this is mine. I picked it up for $1,000 because it's had a low speed impact at the front. It hasn't caused the airbags to go off, but it has caused the steering to get locked. So this car runs, drives, but you can't steer it because it's all locked up with some weird safety feature. Why do I have it? Because if I open this somehow, it has a complete K24 and a 6-speed manual transmission. So that is definitely going to be repurposed into some vehicle in the future. Again, this kind of ties in with collecting engines and drive lines to use in vehicles that we find in the bush. So ultimately, if we can't get the steering unlocked, what we're going to do is pull a big angle grinder right through there, make it a half cut, keep that, throw that half away, and yeah, they'll sit around until it's ready to we find a body applicable for it. It's really good spec actually, really nice. It's a 6-speed manual, got all the gears inside. We might take these seats out and see if we can fit them into the daily driving Prado, because they are way more comfortable, a bit more bolstering, leather, electric adjustments, it all works. Really, really good car. No, we only need half of it, we don't need the rear half. Okay, so that's all the vehicles for this yard. We still have 2 more yards to go through, but most of the vehicles are here. It's the easiest place for us to get access to them. It's where the trailer's stored. We've got a forklift here, so we're able to lift these entire vehicles, and it makes the job so much easier of moving them around. So next we'll go to our second storage yard, where there's a couple of cars there, and then we'll head home, where there is one vehicle that is just dying to be worked on. I cannot wait. Anyway, let's get that second yard first. Alright, so the plan here is that we are slowly moving out of this yard and try and get all the vehicles down into the first yard where we just came from. So there's only 3 cars still here, so we'll quickly run through what the plans are with them. Alright, so first up we have a 1974 Datsun Coupe. This was rescued for a friend of mine who has since failed to come and collect it. I actually think he's forgotten all about it, and so it just sits on my trailer waiting for him to come get it. To be fair though, he is a very busy man and he lives 1,400 kilometers away, but he absolutely loves these Datsuns. He has a few of them himself that he's restoring, and this one was rescued purely to be used as a parts car, and it's just, yeah, there's no urgent need for it, so it just kind of sits here. I keep reminding him, but it's still here. So there we go. 1974 260, these were based on the C110 chassis, so they're actually a Nissan Skyline in Japan. Obviously the Datsuns were a lower spec than what the Skylines were, but still a really, really cool car in unique shape, and I'm actually seriously considering, if he doesn't come and get it soon, I might have to do something myself with it, because I want my trailer back. So I can I'll promise this trailer to another friend of mine. I need to get this off, and anyway, so that is not mine, and yeah, it will eventually go off to the person it needs to go to. Rightio, and next we have our HR Holden station wagon. This one we found out about 250 k's away from home. It was meant to be a friend of mine, her late husband's, and we get out there and she's like, nah, that's not my late husband's, that's my brother-in-law's car. We just drove 250 k's to rescue your family's car and it's not even his car. Oh well, we're gonna grab it anyway. So we grabbed it anyway, and what was so awesome is that it's only missing 3 windows. It's got a beautiful bonnet spare on it, and it still has, I was gonna say 186, which it was factory with, but this has been repowered with a 179. Whether that 179 has been bought out to 186, I do not know. But that's not the original engine, and unfortunately someone has taken the tag, so we don't know exactly what spec, but it's got boosted drum brakes, it's got the bonnet spare, it's a special, what else does it have? Oh, it's a 2-speed power glide transmission. It is actually a really cool spec of a car. Great base for restoration. It does have a bit of bog, quite a lot of bog, quite a bit of rust, but again, the spec that it is, I reckon it deserves to be restored or used as a burner car or something. It just, you know, can't die and be taken into parts. So you might be wondering why there's quite a bit of new stuff going on under here. Well, here's a story to tell. We found it was so complete in the engine, we're like, I'm sure we could get this running. So Dad and I set about starting to get this thing running. You know, it's an old Holden red motor, you can't kill them, and it's been sitting with the bonnet down away from the weather, so like surely we can get it cranking over. And Dan and I had some sort of success, but we didn't have the right car that would fit, and so I put the call out. And thank you very much to a viewer, an old friend of mine, Dennis, for going out of his way to find not one but two of the correct size carbs for this engine. Absolute legend of a bloke. Thank you so much, Dennis. I really appreciate that. Also, I have to say a huge thanks to Danny, another viewer, who gave us the ignition system, the distributor, and all the leads that we needed to get this old girl running again. So thank you very much, boys. And then a huge thank you to Byron for coming up, and we actually got this thing running and started. It took us 4 or 5 hours to finally get it cranking and finally get, you know, get the old bits and pieces moving inside the motor, but we did get it running and driving. So if you want to see, or sorry, we got this thing running. If you want to see this engine running, jump over to Down the Shed with Byron. I'll put the link in the description and put the little thingy up over there. And absolutely worth a watch. It was so cool to see this engine. It got parked up in about 1979, 1980 because it ran out of fuel. That's it. So we knew we had a good engine, we knew we could get it going, and sure enough, 4 hours of hard work and we finally got there. Well worth the watch. So what's happening to it? Well, originally the plan was to get it running and driving and take my friend for one more lap around town in her late husband's car. Well, now it's not her late husband's car, so I don't know what we're going to do with it. I have no inkling to keep it. You know, it's a great car. We can't get rid of it, but we got to do something with it. So there's a story I've been meaning to tell you guys, and it's still very raw and I don't really know how to tell you. But anyway, the short version is, at 1,000 subscribers, we did a 1,000 subscriber giveaway on Automotive Carnage. We found an old LJ Tirana 4-door. We dragged it in, got into a rolling chassis. You guys watched all of that, and then, you know, like, comment, subscribe, send us an email. You're going to draw to win this car. Well, we did the draw. Michael won the car. He was going to do it up in honor of his mate, who unfortunately took his own life, and so it was going to be like the whole footy club get involved and build this car for their mate, and do the whole mental health thing, which is absolutely admirable. Couldn't have gone to a better person. Unfortunately, we had a mining company who decided they wanted the car more than we did, and since they had the expiration lease where we found the vehicle, they sent in the heavy guns and pretty much blackmailed us into giving the vehicle back. So yeah, there's more to it, but unfortunately we did lose the Tirana and Michael didn't get a car. Well, I rang Michael the other day and I said, mate, I owe you a car. I know it's been a year, but I owe you a car. Do you remember the HR Holden? And like, the dude was absolute legend. He's like, yes, I've been watching your channel. Yes, I know the vehicle. I would love it. So this vehicle is now going to go to the one who was meant to win the Tirana. He's going to restore it, and I can't think of a better person for it to go to. So yeah, a man on my word, I said I'll find him a car, and well, there you go, Michael, she's all yours. All right, and then some of the old viewers might remember this sucker. With recent world events, I probably shouldn't say the name that we called it, but he was the leader of a particular party during Second World War, and it starts with S. Because he's a commie, you know, there's no clue. Not mine anymore. I did sell it. The guys brought it, took it for a drive, blew a rear tire, ran out of fuel, and parked it up, and have never driven it since. So we might get that car back eventually. Who knows? We've done so much work on that. I've learned heaps from that vehicle. But yeah, it's not ours. We don't need to be worried about it. Okay, so that's all for this yard. As I said, we're trying to move out of this yard, move all the cars down into one location, hence why there's not many left here. Now we'll head home to the vehicle that is like the best vehicle ever. If you guys have been keeping count and you know my vehicles I have, you know which one's coming, baby. Oh yeah, he's back. Let's go check him out. Now, this is without a doubt the most requested car down in the comments. Do you still have your 1979 Toyota Crusader? Well, yes we do. It's still here and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. Now, for those of you who are a bit newer to the channel and not realize the importance of this vehicle, I've been building it since well before the channel even had 400 subscribers. Now, the idea behind it is that I want to take on the challenge of, can I build a bush car from the bush? So we always find lots of old abandoned cars, we also find lots of parts and all sorts of stuff just lying around out in the bush that's just left for dead. I want to take on a challenge of seeing if I could take one of those cars and make it fully running and operational from using just parts that I've recycled from other bush wrecks. And so far we've been doing pretty good. We've got an engine, driveline, seats, diff, lots of really cool stuff. We haven't done a rack and pinion conversion to this. It used to be an old steering box setup, but we had to change all that. If you want to, I won't go into too much detail because there's a whole playlist on this car that's really worth checking out, of pulling it out of the dirt, the donor vehicle for the engine, where we've got all the different bits and pieces from, and all the fabrication work that I've had to do to make it all work. Now I'll take the bonnet off and show you just not a little snippet as to why this car is going to be so awesome when it's done. Now, when we first found the Crusader, it still had its factory 2.6 litre straight six engine in it, and that was fully seized up and was not going to work no matter what we did to it, just being exposed to the weather and sitting for so long. So that promptly came out, and I managed to source this 5.4 litre V8 out of a 2003 BA Fairmont. A friend had it sitting in her backyard for a very long time. She blew the torque converter from doing too many neutral drops and burnouts, and so I picked up the whole BA for 500 bucks. So that's donated the entire driveline, PCM and everything we need to make this car running. As I say though, if you want to get into the nitty gritty of how we've gone about mounting the radiator, the rack and pinion, the engine, the seats, the diff, all that is in the playlist. Go check it out. But from this point forward, I am focusing solely on the Crusader. I want to get this car running. There's not much left to get it running. We've already got the PCM flashed by Bill Hooton, one of the best Barrett computer tuners in Australia, which is really, really cool. So that all brand new wiring harness. So yeah, the next few videos on this channel will be getting this thing operational. There are 3 parts I need your guys' help with sourcing though. I need to get some exhaust flanges made up. I need someone to help me CNC a set of those, because the factory cast headers are way too big to fit in the small space that we have. So I need a flat flange made up so I can build headers off of there. We need a torque converter. I'm having a lot of trouble trying to find a second-hand V8 torque converter. 2003 BA Fairmont, if you know one, hit me up. Also, we're going to need a custom drive shaft. Now, going from a BA 4-speed transmission to a 2003 Hilux diff, I'm not going to find that in the bush, so we need a custom drive shaft as well. So if you guys can help with any of those parts, that'd be much appreciated. Give us a comment or an email, automotivecarnage@gmail.com. Much appreciated. So that's all for this week. It's been a long one, it's been a lot of talking, but that's all the vehicles that I have in the fleet at the moment, except for that one that's under a tarp behind you, but we can't talk about that one just yet. And then next video will be getting into this. Some of you will notice that there's a diff in the rear, as I mentioned, a 2003 Hilux diff. That's fully mounted. I'll go into the story of how that ended up in there, and we'll finish fabricating the shock mounts and the panhard bar for that, and just get as much done on this car as possible because I really want to get it working. Anyway, thank you all for watching Automotive Carnage, and we'll catch you on the next one. See you later.